There we go.
Okay, let's start again.
Now
For everyone, we're absolutely now recording and my light shifted. There we go. So this is Cosmo Meens and I'm Pamela Madsen and we're from Back to the Body.
Yeah.
And he's in Canada and I'm in Riverdale in the Bronx. And we're both married and in isolation. And it seemed like a good time.
Yeah, that's great.
To talk about keeping things hot in long-term relationships. It was your idea.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's good.
And I've been married like for decades longer than you've been alive.
Is that true? No.
I don't know if it's true, but I will be married because I was a teenage bride, which is actually a true story, not made up. I will be married almost 40 years in a couple of years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's true. Don't I look good for my age?
You look great.
For my age, you know. But I got married, like, I don't know how they allowed it to happen, actually. My wedding. You know, because I was still in college. Like, I was a kid. And we're still married a decade later. And, you know, the wisdom I have about long-term relationships and long-term sex is that basically I've had 4 marriages. Only with him, but there's been 4.
Right.
And I'm not the woman my husband married. You know, that girl.
Yeah, you keep growing and evolving and...
I was 18.
Yeah.
You know, my hair is like surprisingly the same. But other than that, I'm very much this, I'm very different. And that doesn't actually always play well. We talk about keeping things hot in a long-term relationship. Let's say somebody marries somebody who's into kink.
Mm-hmm.
But like 10 years later, they're over the collar. But you're not, right? So I don't know, like, where do you want to take this?
Well, right now, first of all, this topic comes up a lot, right? And so right now, I would say that personally, both my wife and I would identify as being poly. Yet,
okay.
Yet we basically live a monogamous lifestyle. And especially on isolation, right? So, you know, the question is like, you know, and so in coaching, in working in sessions, it's brought to my attention a lot that is like, okay, well, great. You know, when you're meeting new people, you can try these fun things, or maybe when you have, you know, a practitioner that's like, anything you want, we'll try it, you know. That can be exciting. But then when it's a partner that you have day-to-day activities with, you're raising children with, you have to wash the dishes, and whether they wash them or they clean the floor, and whether you have to do it or they have to do it. And there's all these day-to-day things that come into play. So I would say the number one way to carve out time. Now, I also want to frame this by saying I was also married for 15 years in a previous incarnation, which was basically like what you described. So I went through probably 2 full versions of myself, if not 3, in those 15 years. And then it got to the time where we were just different people. And you know, we're very amicable. We have 2 kids together. We're different people, and we chose, you know, now at 36 or whatever was the time to kind of go our separate ways. And, you know, where I'm at now today, she's very glad that we're not still together, because I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I was going to explore, you know, the realms of sexuality, understanding shame, understanding pleasure. And it was just not the path that she wanted to be on. And so it made a lot of sense. But, you know, wherever you're at in relationship, whether you're newly married for 2 years, married for 40 years, I think there are a few details that we really have to address to reignite passion. And I'll just speak to one of them first. And this is something that I'm not always great at, and I definitely, when I hear my partner make the request, my wife make the request, I go, oh, that's what's going on, right? And that is to have time outside of daily life, right? So that's the big one. So maybe we can speak to that one first is,
Sure.
how do we do this? We have to change our pattern. We have to change the pattern.
You hear me go.
I know, I can say it. Right? So
Yeah,
so what does that mean to you after 40 years? Like, what is that? I could almost see in your body, there was like a little bit of like resistance.
Well, because I'm really playing with this now.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in Maui for 50 days. I was with my sex bod buddies, you know, and now I'm home with my non-sex bod husband, you know, who announced to me on Wednesday, it kind of went like this: want to have sex tonight?
Great.
And I was like, wow, I really honor a sex educator comes out and goes, wow, I really honor you speaking your desire. You know, it's like, all right, he wants to have sex tonight. Nifty. And I'm not mocking him. I was just sort of like, where's my foreplay? Like, where is my back rub? Where is my something? Other than, hey, babe. I didn't even get a hey, babe. Okay, it was just sort of like, want to have sex tonight? And you know, my first response, honestly, was no. I have to be honest. My first response was a very non-sex educator no. And then I was horrified with myself. Because, you know, how hard was it for him to say, want to have sex tonight? I've been away for 50 days, you know.
Yeah.
And he's not a sex educator. He's just a dude, you know. And so then I said later, you know, sex educator hat came on and I went, wow, I really honor that ask. And let me tell you how to help me be ready to have sex with you tonight. And I gave him a little class on, you know, how to get your wife ready, you know, to have sex with you. And, you know, a lot of people who are watching, honestly, they're probably in all stages of relationship.
Yeah.
But there may be people watching who are in, I don't know, what do we call it? They're sheltering or in isolation with each other. So they can't like pretend they're too busy, right?
Yeah, you can see everything that's going on.
Right. So they may honestly not have had sex for 5 years.
Yeah.
Or 3 years or a year or a decade. And all of a sudden, I mean, the name of this is how to keep things hot in the bedroom. Well, maybe the name of this could be how to get in the bedroom. You know, because a lot of people, like an amazing amount of people, find it hard after being in long-term relationship. Literally, my language is going to be all wrong. Literally how to get it up to get into the bedroom, and I don't mean the penis.
Yeah.
Just that it's hard to get it up when you're mostly bored with each other. You've been around each other all the time. So I just want to say to people who are watching that I get it. It's hard. And you may not have been engaged with each other for a really long time. And now you're like, where are the excuses? You're watching all these videos and all these sex educators. This person, Wendy, just wrote, and this is exactly why I tried to invite my hubby to join me on this journey to discovery, because I don't know what the rest is yet.
Says, for sure we are not on the same page, worlds apart otherwise.
Right. Well, and your partner may not want to go on that journey. Like
so let's start there. Let's go back and start there. So let's say, first off, it has to start with a mutual desire, right? We have to have two people that mutually say, I don't know how, but I want, you know, sex, or let's say pleasure in my life. So you have to kind of, and maybe that does start with just, do you want to have sex tonight? Like, do you even want this? Is this even something we should work on together? You know?
Exactly.
And, you know, and that's a really big question. And I think probably the, you know, one of the biggest roadblocks to functional monogamy, right? Is it's like, if you're bound to someone physically and they don't want that, how do you stay monogamous for one thing, right? And then, so you have to start with like a mutual desire to try something new. And I think,
Yes.
I think that like a big part of that is not just, you know, changing your setting. So it could be like, instead of at home, it could be going to a hotel room, which could be something different and weird, you know, weird. Maybe even like, I mean, we've literally left the house because the kids are here and gone to a hotel down the road. And it was just because we needed a change in scenery, right? And the other thing is, the person that your partner is erotically may not have been out in a while, right? So you're not necessarily dealing with the same person that you live with. And so there has to be a receptivity to meet the erotic being that is hiding inside. And that being is very sensitive, very tender, very vulnerable, sometimes very powerful, sometimes scary to even the individual of how powerful that kind of erotic strength is. So there's both the willingness to be like, okay, I want to explore. I don't know what it is, but I want touch, I want sex, even a back rub, I want an interaction. And then there has to be like a willingness to meet this new erotic being that you may not even know this person. Right. You may not know what they really, what turns them on, what, you know, so there has to be this inquiry into who they are as an erotic being.
So I'm going to climb on that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to suggest a road to inquiry. I'm siding with the sun. The sun keeps wanting to turn me into an angel. And I'm not an angel. Well, sometimes, but no, never mind. So, so in isolation and not in isolation, you can still get something delivered. And I'm going to suggest that everybody order a massage table. Because for $100 on Amazon, they will deliver a massage table to your home. And you can take intercourse off the table. And you can just start with learning how to give each other erotic massage, or what we like to call, Cosmo, erotically informed massage, right? So, you know, it may not just be like getting on the table and giving each other a hand job, right? It's getting on the table and really loving, allowing yourself to fully embrace and love this being that's on the table without actually having to commit your genitals. So like, you may not be ready to commit your genitals to your partner. Like, you may not want that, but maybe you could commit to giving your partner really delicious, erotically informed touch. Maybe you can commit to creating a stage. Like when we do it back to the body, and you guys get ready to meet a woman for her session, you prepare for her. And women, you can prepare for him too. I know there's a question waiting, but I'll just finish this. So even with you, that would be exciting for people who are not bored with each other, people who are bored with each other. It takes into account that different setting. So maybe right now you can't go to a hotel. No. But you could buy a sexy sheet. You can get coconut oil. You can buy some sex toys, and you could commit. Light a candle, some incense. Light a candle. Light a fucking candle.
Whatever, yeah.
Right, and commit at least, not at least, because it's not an at least. Commit to giving your partner full loving touch. And you can say or not say, depending on your feelings, you know, honey, I want to give you a delicious erotic massage, but we're not going to have intercourse. I'm going to wear this, whatever I'm going to wear, and I want you to receive. And that could be a way of bringing some sizzle back, or slowly introducing touch to each other. If you haven't been connected in a long time, exploring out of course. I love that word, out of course. And if you have been like hot or not hot, or but erotically involved with each other, giving yourself and your partner another way of connecting. What do you think about that? As
Yeah, I mean, I
negotiate
love
my
that.
son.
I think that the process of having a bit of pragmatic conversation prior to expecting just like sizzle or magic to arise.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how bright you are.
I'm gonna try. I don't know how to fix it.
It is very angelic.
It's very angelic.
Yeah, starting with vocalizing a desire. Then, like you said, Pamela, I love the idea of a table because the table kind of becomes a symbol. So there's some symbol of mutual shared inquiry and desire into each other. And so, from that, let's jump over into this question. So the question is, I was never really educated on exploring sexual fantasies and turn-ons as a woman. Join the club. I added that part. How do I start? It seems overwhelming. And for sure. So the answer, that I'm posing, and I'm just going to say it live, it gives us some options here. The answer is slowly. Start ever so slowly. And even just like, even vocalize, like there's even room for some frustration and anger. Like say to your partner, listen, I'm not putting on this on you, but I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I don't know how to tell you what I want. I'm frustrated that we're not having more sex. I don't know how to direct you. I don't even really know what my fantasies and turn-ons are. Like lay it all on the table and just be like vulnerable and transparent, and then just be like, but I want it. I still want it. I want it. I want it. I don't know what I want, but I want it. And then your partner might be like, oh yeah, fuck, I'm a little frustrated and annoyed and challenged too. And once you've got all those things on the table, then just say, listen, we both don't know. Can we try? And that's where, like, if there's a massage table, you go, okay, we got this table, there's a mutual shared inquiry and desire. Let's try. And I love that you said, take sex off the table, figuratively and literally. Because then there's no pressure for a certain thing. You just say, let's just see what we like. Okay. And then there could be, a list of things to try, which you could, we could type here, or you could Google or whatever, create a list of something, whether it's, we're going to try feathery light touch. We're going to try scratches. Then you could go into role play where you could say, okay, I'm going to say some things that come to my mind that may be weird, but they're hot to me. And can you hold me? Can you just, can you not laugh or question them? Can you just let me like vocalize? Because vocalizing desire is such a huge turn on. I mean, that changed the game for me. Once I was able to say things out loud, it completely changed the erotic being that shows up now.
At our last Portal event, Court and I did something on fantasy.
Yeah.
And a trick that he uses, a tool.
And I loved that, by the way. I saw it in Maui, but I loved the two of you.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But a trick that you can use, or a tool that you can use with your partner, is for you each to write down 4 fantasies. Just write it down. So fantasies are just thoughts. Okay, so it could just be, I'm turned on by the idea of, having sex in front of an open window.
Mm-hmm.
The possibility of somebody walking by. Fantasies are often things actually that some people don't want to actually happen. Like rape fantasy is big.
Yeah.
Gangbangs are big. Now you may like the idea of 5 people having sex with you, and you may not actually really want that in real life, right?
Yeah.
Right, and so
there's a lot that goes into that.
There's a lot that goes into that, right? Yeah, and so just allowing yourself and your partner to have this conversation, that sharing fantasy doesn't always mean that you really want it to happen, or that there is some role play happening, and that there isn't any shame around your fantasies. Because I promise you, I always use this one, that some people know Fat Life, some people don't know Fat Life, but it's what they call a kinky Facebook. And they have groups for everything on there. And I swear, those of you who know the book Curious George, I swear that there is a Fat Life group for men and women that eroticize the monkey. Okay? And they get together, they talk about the man in the yellow hat, you know, and they get turned on. So people get turned on by balloons, they get turned on by food and food being thrown at them. So, you know, there's, you know, we say don't yuck the yum, you know, and then sharing the fantasies with each other and seeing, well, hey, you know, I could be open for pretending that I'm the man in the yellow hat and you're the monkey. Like, I could do that with you. You want to do that? And then you just sort of decide what game you're going to play, because really fantasy is role play, it's game playing, and writing them out and sharing them with your partner. And I understand that's scary. Do you know what the scary part about that is, Cosmo?
I mean, for me, is it not being received, being laughed at is one, like having someone laugh when you tell them a thing, or having it bring up fear. So if it's a fantasy that involves, you know, whatever, I won't even specifically name it just to not bring up fear in people, but basically if it's a fantasy that is taboo, let's say, I call them taboo erotics, right? And it might be, like you said, it might be something that you never actually want to do. It just, for whatever reason, taboos strike a chord of eroticism within us. And so, you know, there's the being laughed at, you know, someone not accepting it or thinking you're weird, or just straight up having someone it bring up fear because they think that you're gonna, you know, want to do something erotically that is, you know, ethically unsound or just wrong.
Yeah, and I think people have a fear that if their partner, because we're just sort of talking about partners, right? Not just people we're dating, people in long-term relationship. So if you reveal, and I did this in my marriage, where I revealed to my husband, and we had already been married like 20 years. And I revealed to him that I like spanking. And it was terrifying because, like, what if he was grossed out by that and I would still have to be married to him forever, and he would always know my fantasy was that I like to be spanked, or, you know, I wasn't even sure if I told him if I wanted him to spank me. You know, and so it's complicated, people. And so just, you know, take your time with your fears and your vulnerabilities and embrace that. Yes, it's vulnerable. Create a safe space, create rules, no yucking each other's yums. Try to keep a straight face, right? Try to keep a, what?
Straight face. Okay, so this is where it starts. So this is good. Okay, so just as much as you may not actually want to do the thing, you may not be ready to even tell your partner. So let's just say that your mind is yours, okay? So what I would say is that, you know, allow yourself to explore fantasy on your own first. Ask yourself some questions and get clear whether you're even okay with the things that might turn you on.
Right.
Because then, you know, if you're okay with it, then you tell your partner and they're not, you go, okay, great, thanks for sharing. If you're not okay with it and you tell your partner and they're not, all of a sudden you're going to feel these waves and waves of shame and remorse and regret for ever revealing that, right? So it starts with your own heart finding some ground in desires that just just may flow out of you that have no, substance. And then when, substance outside of it being like a mental construct. And then when you're in a relationship, that actually can be the safest place that you could ever explore those things. And that's what I've really learned in what I would call like, we would consider ourselves poly, but we actually in reality are more monogamous than anything. And part of that is that we can explore whatever comes up with each other and we feel safe, right? We feel safe in this committed long-term relationship that another person that we just met, I would never feel safe saying some of the things or exploring parts of myself that I'm able to in a long-term committed relationship with my wife.
Thank you. And Janelle just asked, and she said, but what if you don't think you have any fantasies? And that came up actually at our retreat, where our mastery retreat in Thailand, where one woman was like, well, I don't have any fantasies. And how do I get them? And, basically, she was supported into understanding, first of all, that thoughts are fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm thinking right now, and I'm not, okay, I'm just making something up, all right? So nobody get all worried. So if I'm thinking right now that Cosmo is super hot and that I would like to have sex with him, that's a fantasy. Like that thought of, wow, he looks like really hot tonight. Look at the mustache. I like how what's going on over here. And like briefly thinking, what would that be like? Mm-hmm. That's a fantasy.
What would that be like? Yeah.
What would that be like? That's a fantasy. You can also identify that as a thought.
Yeah.
So we have lots of thoughts, throughout the day. The question is, do you cultivate a thought about the hot garbage man or sanitation worker, who's, or that beautiful waitress or whatever it is? Do you cultivate the thought into a fantasy? And there's lots of ways to, there's lots of ways to stoke fantasy, lots of ways to stoke fantasy. And that could be watching movies with erotic themes. Mm-hmm. That can be reading books with erotic themes, and sort of just trying them on, and asking your partner to support you.
And I mean, I can super identify it because I would say up until maybe like 35, I just totally did not get it. I did not get specific fantasy play. All I wanted was, I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. It felt like it was imposed on me. If people wanted like, to play cops and robbers or something, or like play these different roles, I didn't connect with it. I only was able to connect with it when it came from inside of me, when I naturally just allowed it to be like, there's actually versions of me. So it does then kind of become a fantasy that has details and specifics, but it's not like, if it's coming from the outside and being imposed, there can be like a rejection of it. But if you allow this sort of, these thoughts, as we now call them, to just evolve naturally from very tiny seeds that are interesting, arousing, thought-provoking, that then become stories that you play with, and you learn kind of characters that live inside you that then have now a stage. It's almost like it very much is like acting. It's like,
it is like acting.
I have a stage. Tonight I want to be, and for me, I also, flip-flop between, it's not always gender specific, where it's like, I'm always a man. Like I have, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, tonight I'm feeling very feminine. So I can like, on the stage tonight, I'm going to explore my feminine, which is something I never would have considered ever until I was in a really safe place. Right. And it doesn't necessarily mean I want to dress up in a certain way or be a particular person. It's just allowing a different energy to flow through.
Different aspect of you.
Different aspect.
Right?
So.
I like to be animals, you know? So couple things were being asked, and there were a couple of responses given, you know, again, about getting started. I always give this exercise, so I'm going to give it again. One way for couples to get started to explore, I usually suggest going to a sex shop together. That may not be possible right now, but you each can sit with your computer screen and open it up to a toy store like Voodoo Toys or Babeland or Good Vibrations or any of them, you know, and both sit separate and fill your basket, your online basket. Right now it's online, but you could do this when we're allowed to go physically into sex shops, and fill your basket with things that turn you on, because sometimes it's hard to say it, but we can show it. And then switch laptops and look what's in your partner's basket. And that's a really fun exercise. And then really like, wow, you know, he picked bend over boyfriends. You know, I guess my partner, my husband, my wife, whatever, wants to be pegged, wants anal sex. You know, and I didn't know that. I'm not saying that this happened at my house, but it could have. And so when you look at each other's baskets, you see a paddle, you see ropes, you see a vibrator, you see a costume.
Nipple clamps.
You see clamps. And then you look at that with an open heart. There could be videos and books. Like, what would you explore with your partner? What's in their basket? And then you have a discussion. Go, you know, babe, I could actually, you know, get excited by this weird toy of yours. You know, it's kind of looks interesting. Ooh, I could play with that on your body. And I'd buy that and we could play with it. And so you each buy 3 things from the other person's basket and have it sent. It will be shipped. It will arrive. That massage table will arrive, and you have a new hot way of playing with a new idea with each other. Someone suggested seeing a sexological bodyworker or a practitioner. Obviously, at Back to the Body, we support that idea. It's a very safe way of getting what I would call Epicurean touch. It's a very safe way, these things keep falling out of my ear. It's a very safe way to have a professional support you on the journey with the safety of other women around and other, you know, we at Back to the Body, you know, Cosmo is one of our lead practitioners, and we almost have one-to-one support at Back to the Body. Even if it's a group of 20 women, we have one-to-one or 1.5. I don't know. I did the numbers. It came to 1.4. I never know what to do with that 0.4. Does that mean that there's just an arm of a woman that's there? But it breaks down to like 1 to 1.4 women. So those are safe ways if you can find your way to that. And if you're curious about how to explore this with a professional, then go to our website, which is backtothebody.org, and book a consultation and speak to Stephanie or Christy, who are our fabulous, you know, V team. And they'll talk to you about our retreats, and they'll talk to you about privates. And there, Stephanie puts it right up there. She put the calendar right up for everybody. You can book it right now online. So, you know, yes, working with professionals are great, and we do work with couples, mostly in privates right now. So if you're interested in doing a private couple session, that's something that Cosmo and I can talk to you about, you know, on location. So yes, working with a professional is great. Now, somebody else raised their hands, and the person who raised her hand, you can type your question into the webinar chat. So if you want to do that, you can. Did we answer the ones that are all there right now?
Well, I just want to, so we got going to a professional, but I want to just make a comment on the tail end of this
Sure.
message here. And just that, I mean, this is super inspiring. This is saying, I went to a professional. The professional asked me how I wanted to be touched. And I went back and I asked the same question to my hubby.
Yeah.
And that set the stage for reviving our sex life after 16 years with no sex. So like the reason why we can talk about this, and I get the goosebumps.
I love that you get the goosebumps.
With so much confidence. And I mean, this really, really drives me. Like, I mean, I lived in a beautiful, loving marriage. And we just had different priorities around sexual activity. And it's so possible. So I just love hearing these stories. I hear them countless times over and over again. And it drives it home to me that no matter what age, how long you've been married, if there is a desire and an inquiry, it's possible. And the inquiry is, how would you like to be touched? Right? So someone asked this question to this person, and they asked it in turn to their hubby, and that changed their lives forever. And I can say the same for myself. When someone first asked me on a massage table at a week-long workshop I went to, how would you like to be touched? I literally broke down crying and was like, wow. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't even know. Nobody's specifically asked me that before. In that way, just for me, it changed my life forever. And so this isn't just for men that, or just for women that's going to change. If you ask your male partners or your husbands that question, and you just, hold space for them to figure out how that even lands in their body, it will change things. It will change, maybe slow and maybe massive, but it's a beautiful question. So I just wanted to bring that forward and just say, Congratulations. Thank you for sharing that. And that's inspiring.
Right. And Stephanie Joe just posted that she had a lover who actually said to her, why are you asking me that? And so, it can be confronting for some people, and so just sort of holding, that word holding space, which means, what we mean by holding space is being patient, not reacting, being responsive, not reactive to a situation, going, okay, well, whenever I get the why question, here's my favorite response. And it's not mine. It belongs to a sex educator, Don Shuey in New York, who used to work with me as a client. And I would say, why, Don? Why do I feel that? And Don would say, why ask why, Pamela? Why ask why? Mm-hmm. We don't have to answer the why question. I'm asking you how you like to be touched. It doesn't matter why. We get so caught up in the why. And I don't know why I like playing with sexual dominance. My mother loves to say, well, you weren't beaten as a child. And I'm like, no, there isn't some kind of weird, twisted thing. We don't always have to know why something turns us on. We don't always have to know why a lot of things. What is true, though, is that most of us don't know how we like to be touched. Most of us are frightened even to ask. So Lucy's asking, my husband says to that question, I don't know. And I've tried all I know with him. So what we can tell you again, and this is not like a sales call, and it's a difficult time for a lot of things, but Cosmo runs the Apollo Project. Mm-hmm. And Stephanie Joe, if you're able to conjure up that URL, or if you want to put it up there, Cosmo.
Right.
The Apollo Project is simply a back to the body for men who don't know how they want to be touched, for men who want to explore themselves. Like Back to the Body is for women. And there are lots of programs for men, where men like Cosmo do counseling for other men who don't know how they want to be touched, who have trouble with communicating. There are couples retreats. We're offering privates right now. And so there are answers, and there are answers for women. A lot of this is about practice and opportunity.
And immersion. You know, this is, that's the key that I really have figured. I mean, with everyone, but what I definitely see with men is that it doesn't happen in a day. You can't just tell them the thing. You need to have the experience embodiment over a number of days to really like have it land. And
Yeah,
really,
immersion. You need immersion.
You need to stop daily life and do a bit of like, you know, neuroplasticity kind of like shifting, right? How have I been living life? How have I been thinking? And is there room for some expansion? And of course, you know, I don't know is just like such a valid answer. So many people are just like, I don't know. But I'll tell you, I've seen people that at first say, I don't know, and then you can't shut them up. And they have
exactly.
a list that's 3 pages
they have a
long,
list.
you know, three pages long list that is very detailed. And no, a little over, oh, no, okay, and yeah, okay, and then some of this and some of the, you know, it's like, so they may not know, but there are ways to find out. And
yes.
and we're here to help, right?
We're here to help.
Yeah.
So I want to say something about infidelity. This lovely woman said that she would love to have some of these experiences with practitioners, and she's concerned, her husband's concerned, and sees programs like Back to Body as infidelity. Mm-hmm. So first of all, let's be clear. Okay. You go to a doctor, you go to a psychologist, you go to a gym, and you have a trainer. Hopefully these people that you're employing to support you as a nutritionist, all the things, right? You're not going to have an affair with them. They're not going to get naked, right? They're not available for that. Well, the practitioners at Back to the Body are not available to have an affair with anyone. They keep their clothes on. It's one-way touch. Many of them are married or have other relationships. They have to sign an agreement, which I've been talking a lot about right now. And the agreement basically says, I will not text. I will not sext. I will not eat green eggs and ham, right? I will not, have a romantic relationship with any clients at Back to the Body. And there's actually even a 2-year stipulation about even working with them outside of Back to the Body. And that's how we keep a safe container for husbands and partners who are concerned. Also for women's hearts, that there's like no question that this is a professional relationship. Mm-hmm. That this is not a romantic relationship. That's not what this is about. This is about a woman coming back to her body. This is a woman learning about what she wants. This is a woman learning about her fantasies and learning about the toys. And it's not about, as cute and sexy as Cosmo is, it's not about Cosmo.
It's not about the practitioner at all.
No, it's not about the practitioner at all. He's showing
like
up.
A massage therapist, right? So if your partner is like, you go to a massage therapist to get a massage, they don't even think twice about it. They don't say, well, I give a pretty decent massage, but the thing is we're trained at particular types of approaches to help with embodiment, to help bring things back to focus, slow down, get loud. Like we can basically hold a very dynamic container because of practice. It can't be expected that a partner would know how to hold the container like that. But it's such a good point. Obviously people would think, well, if there's genitals involved, it must be considered cheating. And that's part of that reframing around how we look at pleasure and how we look at our bodies. And why is it any different than going to a massage therapist or, like you said, a personal trainer that just
or regular therapists? Because the reason why people come to Back to the Body is they want to work with body shame. They want to work with being reconnected to their bodies. They want to understand what turns them on. They want an expert to teach them. And we hold it, and there are all these women there. And you're held in a nest of women. And the private sessions that we're offering right now during the we're hoping is towards the opening up of the world again in late summer, early September, is me and a male practitioner, both of us together. So it's kind of hard to have an affair. I'm there. And so it's just not what we're about. And in the fall, our retreats are opening up again. In fact, most of them are sold out already for the fall because women are so hungry. And so if you're curious, you want to speak, like Christy and Stephanie Joe have been to retreats. They've been in marriages. They've been in marriages at retreats. So speak to one of those ladies and they'll support you and talk to you, book a consult and talk about all your fears with them. Talk about all the obstacles. They're really the people to speak to. So please Stephanie Joe, put it back up there again. Put up those, the consult calendars, and we'd be happy to talk to you. We also have a new program that we've been calling the mentorship program, but I bet you didn't know, Cosmo, that I renamed it today.
Nice.
It's not called the Back to the Body mentorship program anymore. It's called Every Day with Back to the Body. It's called Every Day because you can't live at retreat. As wonderful as retreats are, there are women right now, who want to start activating. They want to start meeting you, Cosmo, and talking to a male practitioner. They want time with a female sexologist. They want a community that they can access every day, before a retreat or after a retreat. So if you're not ready to step into a retreat right now, check out Back to the Body's Everyday virtual program. And again, that damn consult, because we're opening the doors. We have 40 women in it right now, and we're opening the doors again for July. And we're bringing in more women, and you'll get to be teamed up with someone like Cosmo and a female sexologist, and then me once a month, and we have a private group, and you can start doing embodiment activities without getting touched.
Yeah, that's a great entry level point.
It's beautiful. So if anyone's concerned about infidelities, here's a way to put your toe in the water. And you'll also get ideas about couple sex. You'll get ideas about dating. You'll get ideas about connecting back to your body. So check out Back to the Body Every Day. And again, how do you find out about it? Book a consultation, and that will help you. But let's get back to what we were talking about, because we only have about 10 more minutes.
Yeah. So, you know, the part about the husband too, now I don't know if we do this, but I'm just going to say for Apollo, I've had it come up a couple times where wives of men have been like, well, I don't know. This just sounds like, you know, basically that men are going on this retreat with sex workers there, and, you know, it's just a free for all. And they don't really get the concept of what we're even doing. They don't get that it's therapeutic at all. And so sometimes I'll just say, listen, you know, my wife is one of our practitioners. She's part of the team. If your wife needs any reassurance about the therapeutic nature of the work that we're doing, call her. We'll set up a consult, you know?
Right.
And I don't know that we do that, but like,
we've done it. We've done it. We've done couple calls, and we've talked with husbands who were nervous, even with the practitioner that the woman was working with.
Right.
And I'm going to say something also that's sort of, some of our practitioners are bisexual and gay. They're not really interested in your wife in that way, okay? They're just not. So can you add Caitlin's info? I'm not sure why we would be asking that. I think just send everyone to Back to the Body, and then we can send people off to other places if they need it. We're not going to put that on here right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Women need you.
Women, yes, women need us. But I think it's really fair to say that everybody needs everybody, that the men need support and the women need support. And I wanted to talk about one more thing. And I don't know if we have a little more time. We have 8 more minutes, but I'm going to like pull it here. I think that's another part of married sex that we should talk about. And it's actually a really hard thing to confront. And I think it's something that may take couples therapy to work out. But your partner may represent trauma to you in some way. There could have been a financial misdeed or a sexual misdeed. There could have been a loss of a child. There could have been something big that happened in your marriage. Because if you're in a long-term relationship, there could be illness. And so sometimes when you're together for a long time and you share trauma, or there is a betrayal, but you're trying to stay in, it can be very complicated. To be with your partner erotically. And so I just want to name it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I know that's not a sizzle thing, but it may be more of a fizzle thing, but you've got to name the fizzle to get to the sizzle. And so if you are dealing with trauma, when you fight with your partner, is it over nothing? And does it always go back to the thing that caused the trauma? So are you fighting about the dishes, or are you fighting about he can't pay the Con Ed bill and it got turned off again? You know, what is the trauma in the relationship? And that would be something really to work with a counselor around. Because if you can't sort out those issues, it's very hard to get back under the covers. And I just felt the need to name that for people. I don't have a solution, but except to go for counseling.
I think you did. Yeah. I mean, I think that addressing the underlying like lack of trust, betrayal, like that there is a boat that you have to build together to go on this trip. Let's say that there's a boat that you've got to build, and it can't have holes in it or the whole thing's going to sink. And that starts with trust. It starts with like, you know, that mutual commitment, and all of it does like have so much trauma layered in. So I love that you brought that up. I think that's an important thing. We're not all sizzle and, you know, rainbows and unicorns. There's a lot of work that goes into creating a safe place to explore our erotic selves. Absolutely.
And so let's just recap for everyone. So some of the suggestions that Cosmo and I made during this lovely little chat was buy a massage table. You know, get one ordered and start playing create a new place to play. I love that you're writing it, Cosmo. Create a new place to play, whether it's a hotel when you're allowed to go do that, whether it's a massage table in your living room. By the way, massage tables are such hot sex toys. You can be tied to one, bend over, get massages, lots of access with massage tables. And we talked about fantasy, heal trauma together. We talked about creating fantasy together, writing down your fantasies and then sharing them with each other. And then we talked about how that's role play. And that's acting. Like get your Hollywood on, right? And sometimes we do things for our partner. So maybe you're not turned on by being Superman to her. Who was it?
Lois Lane.
Lois Lane. So maybe you don't want to be Lois Lane, or you don't want to be Superman. But will you do it for her? Will you do it for him?
Are you willing to try?
Right. Are you willing to try? Like give it up for the night and do that? We talked about doing a virtual shopping and looking into each other's baskets and choosing things from each other's baskets to play with, which is like super fun. And what else did we talk about? Make a safe space. No yucking of the yums. No yucking each other's yum. Like, get your poker face on, people. Inquiry. And get your poker face on, so when they say to you that what really turns them on is Curious George, you don't burst out laughing. You're not allowed to laugh at each other. And hi, Chelsea. Good to see you.
Chelsea.
I'm really glad you were here. And book a consultation. Check out. There's so many things to check out. There are the fall programs. There is the Back to the Body Every Day, which is virtual. There is the retreats in the fall. We are, God willing, opening and running in the fall. We have retreats in upstate New York and in Santa Fe and in Hawaii in the fall, in Maui. And so, and we have a COVID-19 policy. And this is what it is. So those of you who are frightened around all this stuff, so yes, we do have a no refund policy. But if for some reason, because of COVID-19, you can't come to a retreat, we will hold that forever for you. You can come in the next 3 years to a retreat. So we are working with people, even if the next retreat is more money within a certain limit that's in our policy, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll get you there. So it's so important to stay alive and to plan for pleasure. So we are working with all of it in this really uncertain environment. And hang in there with your partner. You know, you arrive together for a reason. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And anything is possible as long as you stay in. Yeah. And you know what? Maybe marriage is a team sport, you know? Mm-hmm. Maybe long-term relationship is a team sport and you both have to go in. And sometimes you bring in other people. Sometimes you build like an even bigger team. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Lucy. Thank you, everyone. Cosmo Meens. Thanks, everyone. Follow him on Facebook. Find the Apollo Project. I'm sure you're going to be up and running again next year for the guys. Yeah. And yes, ladies, he's with me at Back to the Body too. Oh, yeah. Anyway. Thanks, Pamela. My pleasure. Always a pleasure. All right, people. Have a great night. Go do something different. Buy the table. I'm telling you, listen to me. Buy the massage table. Just get the table, even if you get a good massage out of it. Right, get the table. Get the table. All right. And I'm going to stop recording. And yes, I'm stopping.